Go. Okay. Hello everybody. Welcome to this video. This is a video I wasn't going to do. Obviously, if I did, I would have done this a lot earlier. I'd have probably done this within the first few days of the new year. But we are with it a good 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks into January now, and this is coming out a little bit late. But it doesn't really matter. It's still early enough in order to kind of do a retrospective or a look back of the last year, and that's what this video is. I don't need to do this. I have most of the stuff I'm going to talk about in this video. I have already done videos talking about previous vlogs throughout last year, but yeah, I just want to kind of finally do this video and it's kind of a final, kind of, so I can kind of put that last year behind me and look forward, look towards the future. So this is kind of a little way for me to kind of, just put it behind me in a way. That's pretty much the reason why I'm making this. So yeah, 2020 was, for most of us, it was, for everybody, really, was a very challenging year. And it was a very challenging year for me, and it was a very emotional and very stressful and very stressful and emotional, and also very. I just got, it was just a year where nothing went well at all. Of course, going right back to the beginning, obviously, everything that I wanted to do or was hoping to, plan to do, never happened. Everything was cancelled. TF Nation was cancelled, and I was hoping to kind of do some stuff for my birthday, and that went out the window. Everything just went out the window. And obviously, at the beginning, the first couple of months, January and February, you was able to do whatever you wanted, able to go shopping and things of that nature. And you was able to kind of go on days out if you wanted. But then I think it was around March into April time, obviously the first lockdown came into force for this, for the thing that we're still having to deal with, the COVID thing. So I think it was as early as that, I think, when the first lockdown hit us. And then shops had to start up, shops, non-essential shops and pubs and restaurants and that nature had to close. And everything was closed right up until around about, I think the lockdown was in March, and I think everything started opening around about April, so it was closed for a little bit over a month in total, for the first time. And then everything started to open again, shops, and most people probably think that was not a very good idea. Most people argue that we shouldn't have opened as soon as that, because obviously since then we are now in lockdown number 3. Or I say lockdown because it's not really a lockdown, is it? It's, things are still open, like takeaways and things of that nature. The only things that aren't open are non-essential shops and restaurants and bars. The only thing they can do is takeaway, and obviously Costa and Starbucks, they're open only for takeaway as well. It was a very, very testing year for me personally. It was just at the beginning of, I've just done nothing this year. I saw on Facebook about a week ago now, I think it was last week, on my timeline, on my Facebook memories, it popped up on my trip to York, which was, I think, the last day out that I went on a train, went to York, was there all day, come back again, and it was probably the last time where it was like that was like now 2 years ago, and I didn't realize it was that long ago, and so that must have happened relatively early. That because obviously that popped up about a week ago. So I must have done that back in like January of 2019, and I think that was the last time I actually did a proper like. No, I think that was the last. No, was it? I don't know. I don't know where my mind is, but I'm pretty damn sure on my memories it came up saying 2 years ago, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I didn't realize it was that long ago. But obviously, coming into 2020, that was obviously back in 2019. That obviously, if that was the case, so coming into 2020, it was just nothing. We couldn't go anywhere. Couldn't do anything for most of it. Some people were lucky, managed to. Well, I won't say lucky. I think they were stupid enough. I don't care if I get hate for that, but there was throughout 2020, for the most part, some people did manage to go on holiday abroad, on able to fly out, go on a holiday. Um, some people travelled to other parts of the UK for like a day out or a weekend away. Some people managed to at least do something like that, but it also then repercussions of that started because there was issues with people going down to the seaside in their droves, even though there was this whole thing happening, and then that caused massive, massive, massive repercussions and many, many deaths and people getting the virus and people being hospitalised. It really was a big catalyst of people moving about the country and going to other places, and people from other countries coming to us on holiday, vice versa. And we ended up, getting the virus like like pretty much every other country around the world. And it just escalated from there. It just escalated, and I think obviously the first lockdown was in around about March, and it lasted a good week and a bit, and it started to open again in April, I think. Um, and then it just went pear shaped after that. Everything shut down again. Everything, no mass gatherings or anything of that nature. So it meant conventions and anything of that nature had to be postponed or cancelled. So TF Nation didn't happen. They ended up doing the big broadcast event last year, and that was really good. It was actually a good little highlight. It was a good little escape, a good little escape from what had transpired before that point. But little did I know it was something that would simply overshadow, something that I didn't think I'd witness, or not witness, but have to deal with afterwards, which is obviously both my grandparents passing away. So obviously TFN is usually in August, and at that point in August, my granddad was still he was still bedridden at that point. He was bedridden for a better part of a good year. He barely did anything during 2019. He was literally, I think he only left that. I think he left the flat a handful of times during 2019, and then he ended up with really bad. He just really weak, and he just couldn't eat properly, and he ended up being in bed a lot. And then and then coming into 2020, he was again. The most times he moved was maybe to go to toilet. And a couple of times, if he had like a better day, he would go into the front room, the living room, and he would sit there for a bit. But then after so long, he would have to move back into bed. And he lost so much weight and everything because he wasn't eating properly. And as a family, we kind of knew this wasn't good. And by the time August come, he was still bedridden, and we started at that point. We between, quietly, we thought he was not going to see the year out, and he probably wouldn't see Christmas. But we was trying to be as hopeful as possible and supportive of both my grandparents as much as we could, even though I barely saw my grandparents during 2020 because I felt that I would pass something on to either my granddad or my grandma. I felt I would pass something on, and I stayed away for a very large part of 2020. I did go around a couple of times during 2020, but we did it through a window. We would kind of, me and my dad would go around and we'd just look through the window and kind of do it that way. Um, but yeah, it just but I barely saw him. I barely saw my grandparents during 2020, and obviously, yeah, they ended up both passing away, and it was. I didn't think my grandma would pass away this year because she still had a lot of strength left, if you know what I mean. She was weak. She was quite frail. Anyways, she has been frail for many years, and she hasn't eaten properly for a long time. But that's just the way she was. But she was very driven, and she was always there for my granddad. She was caring for him. Ever since he ended up being bedridden, and we thought my grandma would still be here at this point. To be honest, but obviously my grandma passed away. Sorry, my granddad passed away first. He passed away a week before my birthday, I believe it was. Roughly about a week before my birthday, which was November of last year. And then my grandma passed away in hospital about 6 weeks later. Um, Literally, roughly around about. It was very close to Christmas. Let's just put it that way. And yeah, it was something I wasn't expecting. And obviously, I never got to say goodbye, a final goodbye to my granddad. I'm happy that I did manage to go and see him. Roughly about a week before he did pass away. I went round on my own. Um, and my granddad was. They actually had a hospital bed moved into my grandparents' flat, and they put that in the front room. And it was just easier for the staff, the nurses that were going around to check up on him and give him his medication and give him a hand wash of that nature. People that the carers coming round to help my grandma and so on. So it was just easier to access and be able to help him out with a proper hospital bed that was, they can adjust and do all sorts with. So yeah, that ended up happening just before my granddad passed away, and I think I managed to go around roughly a good week before he passed away, and I managed to kind of, see them all, my grandma and everybody. But after that, I barely went round again after that because I was unable to. I just wanted to limit going round as much as possible. Because I was just so paranoid of passing something over, passing the virus over because of my job, because of me being on the front line and being a key worker and around a lot of strangers and other colleagues. Um, I was very prone to picking this virus up and bringing it home to my dad and bringing it home to my grandparents. So I wanted to minimise the risk as much as possible. And because of that, I missed out on very crucial last moments with them. And of course, I think with that, there was a lot of family issues as well, which I have spoken about a little bit in previous videos. Um, Obviously, one thing is my dad's seen another woman. He met Jackie. My dad's girlfriend's called Jackie, and he met her they've been together now. Actually, this year it'd be 2 years. Later on this year, it'll be 2 years. So they've been together about a year and a half now, roughly. Um, and obviously that caused a little bit of tension with my grandparents and my mum's side of the family. And obviously because I kind of stood with my dad, I, and obviously due to me not going round because of the virus and everything, there was a lot of bitterness and a lot of backstabbing and a lot of stuff being said about me and my dad behind our backs, mostly because they thought my dad at one point was stopping me seeing my grandparents. That wasn't the case. Um, I was just it was my own personal decision not to go around as much as, and when we did go around, it was literally through an open window. That was it. And if they needed any bits of shopping like milk or whatever, we would try and help them out with that. And that's literally all we could do. And also we did, but we wasn't there as much as my cousin and my auntie. They were there all the time practically, which kind of annoyed me a little bit because they were there all the time and there wasn't supposed to be, because they could have easily passed something over to my grandma and my granddad, because even though it's like their social bubble, it's still, it's still a big risk, but they did it anyway. And me and my dad were seen as the bad guys because we didn't want to overcrowd the flat and make the risk even larger. I've been seen as the bad guy, and I still feel like I am seen as the bad guy even now, even though they've both passed away. Um, and all I've done is just stand by my dad with going out with another woman, Jackie, and it's just it's 2020 has been a year of, obviously, me losing my grandparents and all the bitterness and bullshit going on with family. And that has overshadowed a lot of the funerals. That overshadowed that. Um, it's just been, even now. I wasn't even asked if how I'm feeling. Um, my cousin, my auntie. I never even I never got a text message. I never even got any phone calls. I got no support whatsoever from them during the funeral proceedings. I got nothing, and I'm supposed to be their grandchild. I'm supposed, I just got nothing, and that kind of really annoyed me, um, and caused me to have quite a bit of mental issues, mental stress, and depression. So through 2020, my depression and my stress levels have just been sky high. Um, I know I shouldn't be talking about this on YouTube. It's got nothing to do with anybody else, but it's just that's my retrospective of what 2020 was like, because 2020 was just, well, not just 2020. It's been ever since 2019. So this has been going on we're now in 2021. So we're coming into the 2 year bracket now. For the past 2 years, it's coming into later on this year, it'll be 2 years. This has been just overshadowing. So from 2019 right through to now, it's just been a big mess family wise. But obviously with 2020, it's just made things hell of a lot worse because of unable to see them. Unable to really see them properly. My grandparents before they passed away, and obviously that's a mixture of how they see my dad now and how they see me, because they feel I deliberately wouldn't see my grandparents, so I was being stopped seeing them, and obviously that was not the case. And I have an inkling that some family have been told certain things about us now, because it just at the funerals, nobody, not even extended family that are on my mum's side, um, even extended family never even asked if I was alright. So I have a feeling that things have been said through private messaging, text messaging, phone calls to my auntie and my cousin, and I generally think, yeah, basically they've moved away now. By the way, my cousin and her husband that I'm talking about with this whole family problem. They used to live at the bottom of my street, and they moved away about 3 or 4 days ago now. They're not far away from where we are. They're literally just up that road, so they're only about 3 minutes away. But they've moved away from us on purpose. One, well, there's actually one reason why they've moved away is because she's pregnant with their second child. So they want a bigger house, so they've got more room. Which okay, but the second thing is because they want to be away from us, and that's as simple as that. And I say, fuck off. That's all I can say for that. Um, I'm just sick of it. I'm just sick of the bitterness. It's just overshadowed everything this year. Overshadowed my grandparents' funerals. I, I wasn't even asked how I'm feeling because I wasn't even asked how I am. How are you feeling? We're here for you. I had none of that whatsoever. Not even my dad did either. Even though there were his in-laws, we had nothing. We had no support at all from other parts of the family, except for my auntie and my auntie that lives in Devon, which is another sister of my mum's. She's my auntie and my cousins. Well, one of my cousins that live down in Devon. They are the only ones from my mum's side of the family that actually did chat with me, did message me, ask me how I was. They were the only ones that actually give me some sort of family support. Same with my dad. But the rest of them didn't. It was just like whitewash, wash my hands of you kind of thing. So you can understand where my mental thing was with that. Yeah, it's just to think how easy it is for some people to just all that history, and I'm the youngest of the original grandchildren for my grandparents as well, and I've noticed little things over years, over the past couple of years, with certain things in the family, and I've been led to believe some stuff and stories from within the family that I'm not gonna say here on YouTube because it is private, and I'm not gonna go into that too much. But yeah, I've been made aware of certain things, but I kind of caught on a little bit when I was younger that some things weren't quite right with certain things in the family. And obviously, when I was a bit younger, there was actually a massive divide with us, with our side of the family and the other side of the family. I've got a big family. I have loads of cousins, aunties, uncles, and our family was literally just cut straight in half for about 15, for about 20 years nearly. And it all reconciled and started to talk to one another again when when my mum died, because they came to the funeral, my mum's funeral, and ever since then they started talking again, and then obviously, yeah. So it's kind of it took all that time from when I was a kid to my mum passing away like 3 years ago now, for everything to kind of nick back together again. So it just shows you this has happened before, and it's happened multiple times over the years. Bickering within the family, causing fractures, and then it's happened again with us. So they don't want anything to do with me and my dad much anymore because because of my dad seeing another woman and me not going around to see my grandparents as much. But they don't seem to understand that my kind of job, they don't seem to understand that. You know what I mean? it's just pissed me off this year. It really has. It's been a very boring year, and it's been a challenging year, and it's been a stressful year, and it's been an emotional year, all wrapped into one. And it's a year I really want to just keep behind me and move forward and forget, because it's just been nothing. Everything to do with 2020 has just been a big pile of shite. It just has. It's just been a big pile of shite. Um, Nothing. The only good thing that came from 2020 is getting the two new cats. That was the only good thing for 2020. And obviously, I lost my Mindy, my other cat. She passed away in 2020 as well. So that was something. But yeah, but we got two new cats in 2020 near the end of 2020. So that's one thing to take away from it. That's fine. That's good. But for the most part, it's just been a train wreck of a year, not just for me, but for everybody. And yeah, so it's not a rosy video. I really don't care if this gets a load of dislikes. It probably will do. But I know there'll be a lot of people that follow me on this channel that will support me and understand where I'm coming from, which I do appreciate. But yeah, it's just been such a shitty year for all of us. Oh, it really has. Then that's the video. It's just I'm just hoping 2020 on a closing note. I'm hoping 2021, even though it's not looking very promising, it's looking like a lot of things could get cancelled again, like mass gatherings, conventions, that nature. Um, we're in another lockdown right after New Year, and it's looking like we could be locked down for quite a while. Um, we're just hoping we now have about there's like 2 or 3 vaccines out there now at the moment. So we're just hoping we can get as many people vaccinated as possible within the UK and other countries, and then hopefully slowly but surely we can start to reopen other businesses again, and just try and move forward just try and move forward. And I'm hoping I can at least do maybe a day trip out somewhere at some point this year, but I don't know if I will. I'm hoping TFN will happen this year. That's not looking likely because it's still too early to really say it won't. But when we get to about May, then we will know. If I generally think if it's looking, because obviously I don't know, the whole support thing from the government with people being on furlough or whatever it is, that's up till about April. So, but it's looking like things might not happen until we get to around. I think it might be about August when things might be allowed to start reopening again. So it's looking very unlikely we will be able to do anything this year. But it's looking like to be another horrible year. But I'm trying to be as hopeful and optimistic as I can. But yeah. Yeah, so it looks like, but I'm hoping everything is good. Well, 2021 is going to be another train wreck. I know it is, but I'm hoping it's not going to be as bad as 2020. And at some point later on in the year, hopefully we can at least do something. I want to do something. I'm sick of just being sat in this room, sat here, and literally all I'm doing is working here, and then go out for a walk during the day. That's it. That's all I've been able to do for so long, and I just want to branch out and go somewhere, even if it's just to York for the day out or something like that. That's all I want to do. Something to do with my year. So, but we'll see. we'll just have to play it by ear and just wait and see how things go. The more people we get vaccinated, that is when that is the main thing. Um, so yeah, it's just at the moment they're going through all the as we know in the news at the moment, they're going through all the what is it, like people in care homes, care workers, key workers are finally going to start getting them, but that's going to be like nurses and doctors of that nature, so they're going to start getting them or have been getting them. So anyone like that, I can completely understand their priority with a vaccine. An elderly, anyone over 70, they're getting it as well. Um, so yeah, hopefully people like myself, regular people, will start to get it as well. Hopefully within the next month or so. I really hope. So the more people we get vaccinated, the sooner we can start to get back to some normality. Whatever normality will be after this, we just don't know. But anyway, so that's the video. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. And that's just me, my retrospective of the past year. Some feelings I've had bottled up that I just wanted to get out there. But this is going to be the last video of this nature, talking about last year and everything else. It's just this is the final curtain call and all that shit. And just move forward and just try and make the best of 2021. Thank you. Thanks, and see you soon, everybody.